CEOs are falling like dominoes. And now you're like, what? Like, yep. Companies are firing their CEOs, getting rid of them at huge amounts. And let's go over it and we'll get into the reason why. So I got some high value CEOs that had to get ousted. So first one was Starbucks CEO that the new guy from Chipotle came. He he stepped down in August with no specific reason, but we know the reason. You couldn't perform, right? Then let's look at Dave Colhoun. I hope I say that right. Boeing CEO also had to step down. And it's always funny. They always say, "Oh, there's no reason." Of course, there's a reason. Your company stock price dipped. Something else was going on. You can't get the revenue. You can't deliver on your promises. You're out. So Dave Calhoun out. Hertz share. Hertz, the guy from Hertz, Stefan Share, out. Let the companies EV going all EV, huge failure, stock dipped, out. So now we're looking at all these places. Stellantis CEO, out. Now we see the what is it? The healthcare from United Healthcare CEO, murdered, shot. So what does all this kind of have to do with all these CEOs and all these companies? Well, if you're a CEO, there's a few rules you got to follow. So if you're a CEO, you got to perform. You got to make a profit at any cost possible. You just got to perform. Because if you make money, then your stock goes up and your shareholders are happy. They allow you to then get away with more things. But if you are a CEO that's underperforming, underdoing stuff, then you're just going to be ousted. And you, as a CEO, are super expensive. Intel CEO, also out, right? So now we're looking at it. What does it really, how expensive are these CEOs to keep around? And I tried to find out with Intel and all this other stuff to see how much it costs to keep these CEOs around. And it wasn't that easy to figure out. So I took something from General Motors because I found that was the kind of the easiest way to explain how expensive it is, and it's a very large ticket item, right? So the General Motors CEO makes about $27 million, and the base salary is $2.1 million. So we're gonna say $2.1 million, right? So we're say, hey, this is what they have to pay out. So now we're gonna look at how many cars do they need to sell, because that is the key question, right? So how many cars does General Motors need to sell to dealerships before it sells to the customer to actually make a profit, right? Because they have an invoice price and something else, or however it kind of goes, some formula like that, right? And obviously there's more incentives and some kind of other deals. And if you're a huge volume dealer, you're the number one in the United States, you have special deals. I get it. This is a math equation, so it might be plus whatever, 5%, 10%, whatever, but you kind of get the deal, right? Because there's always somebody screaming in the comment section, well, my dealership got a better deal. Well, great, get a cookie. So $2.1 million. And now we're looking at how much does GM actually make? A manufacturer like GM typically makes a margin of around 8% before selling it to the dealer. So that means that on the average car price, they basically make 8 and 9%, right? So, okay. So the average price of a new car in the United States is about $48,000, right? So now let's look at how many cars that they need to sell in order to get to that number, right? So we're taking 48,397, and 8% is 3,871. That means that they make about almost $4,000 on each car sold to the dealer. So now how many do they need to sell just for the CEO? And drum roll, please. It is about 516.4 cars that they need to sell just to keep the CEO on salary, right? And that isn't stock options or anything else. Now you're like, well, that's not a too bad number, 500, right? 500. But that didn't include anything else. That means the salesperson hasn't made any money or anybody else, right? Then the price goes kind of up. And so all these other stuff will be added on. So now, how many car sales people do you need to sell 512 cars in a year to keep the CEO on salary, right? So I looked this up and it says the average is between 15 and 20 a month. And not everybody can be above average, right? So we're going to take around that much, and we're taking around the 20 a month. And you need to sell 44 cars a month just to keep the CEO on. So you need about 2-point-something salespeople just dedicated to selling to the CEO, just to keep the CEO on payroll, right? To keep him going. Then his pencils aren't paid for at the company. Nothing else is paid for. Travel, none of that. It's just for him to basically show up and everything else. And then you gotta do all kinds of other stuff. So it is actually really, really brutal when you think about it. That it's 517 cars. So for all these people that are like, oh, they don't provide that much value, you're probably right. When you have to sell so many things just to do that, it is absolutely crazy. And now when we're thinking about it, it's like, okay, they can sell parts again and all this other stuff and make deals, but that does not take away from the fact that it is so expensive to keep these CEOs on task and keep them around. And then they make faulty decisions and they make really noob moves that will kind of make the company tank, and then the stock drops 45-30%, and shareholders are like, you're there to make us money, not to steal it underneath from us, and you're out. And so we're going to see this a whole lot more, where these companies, these CEOs, are going to have to either step down and be a board member again, because it costs so much money, and you ain't no Elon Musk that can fuse companies together and have self-driving. Well, we'll integrate Twitter, we'll integrate Starlink, we'll do all these kind of fancy things. No, you just sell cars, right? And now we're looking at all these places that have these stock prices dip. It's not good, right? It is not good for people that have invested into GM, that bought their products, and that's like, hey, I'm spending way too much money on this dude and he's not performing right. And I'm always like, you gotta reel him in. All these companies, all these CEOs have promised themselves, we're doing so great, we are winning. And then what that tells me is when people tell me, oh my gosh, we're winning, then I'm always looking at the market, right? Because Warren Buffett is always in the back of my head with this one quote, and he said, the rising tide raises all boats, right? So if you're in an upwards economy and everybody has money, then you as a CEO can do whatever you want. You're going to be fine. But if you're in hard times and people don't have money, that's where your skills come out. That's where you need to turn stuff around. And that's where they're going to pay you the big dollars to fix it. Because everybody of my audience, even me, could be a great CEO in an upwards economy, because it doesn't really take much. Products kind of sell themselves. Everybody has money, so they don't worry about a few $100s here or there. It's just how the world goes, right? But now, Warren Buffett also says, if the tide runs out, we'll see who's skinny dipping. And now we're starting to see, all these CEOs did not keep up with time. They don't understand their customers anymore. They lost touch with reality. They don't understand their product. And now, when you lose touch with reality, you lose touch with your core customer base, and you alienate those and sell. It doesn't even have to be General Motors. It could be whoever, right? All of a sudden, you're like, oh, that's not good. So what do? You go lobby in Congress for grants, for money, for anything else to kind of save yourself, because you were just thumb twisting on your desk thinking, how can I save this? And the only way you can save it is going to Congress and asking for, let's get some grants for chips, or let's get some grants for EVs, let's get some grants for this or grants for that to kind of save yourself. Because when push comes to shove, you're going to be out if you can't perform. And if you think that you're the captain of the Titanic and you're going to be in charge of the whole ship, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to fire the cleaning lady because we hit the iceberg. No, you can't fire the cleaning lady. You have to fire the person that was in charge of maneuvering the ship, right? And yeah, it takes the whole crew, but this was maneuvering the Titanic into the iceberg was this guy's fault, that the captain, right? He was in charge. He had the last say. He could have said, slow down, take a different route, do something else. But nope, he was in charge. And so when you're looking at these CEOs that are falling, they take no responsibility. They say, yeah, we should have done this. Nope. They go on these news networks and say, we're doing fantastic. We're for the people. And then they go back to their offices, and 20 minutes later they come out and says, oh, we're going to fire some people because we need to increase profit margins. And as the CEO, you're obviously not going to take a pay cut, right? Or you're going to say, you know what, instead of me taking this $20 million stock package, let me give 5 to 10 millions back to workers as bonuses, or factory workers, so we can reinvest this money or do something with it. No. It's got to be in my pocket, and let me fill the pockets as fast as I can, because if they find out that I'm a fraud, then they're gonna oust me. And if you're a real maker, and you're a real producer, and you're a real CEO, you have nothing to worry about. But everybody else that's just there and networking and kind of smiling and got there by just doing the networking thing and going to these parties and doing all that kind of stuff, it's coming for you. It is coming. Because if the economy's not going to get better, people aren't going to be buying. And when people aren't going to be buying, shareholders are going to be super pissed, and that's going to result into you losing your job. And so it's just as fair for you to lose your job as a CEO as it is for me if I don't show up to work and I can't produce, right? So there is a layoff wave coming, and I'm glad it's coming because the board of directors needs to reel them in. They cannot have free reign over all these things. They need to be monitoring and be like, you know what? Let's vote of no confidence, get you out. Let's get you out. It should have happened if the stock dipped about 20%, if it wasn't just because of an isolated incident where they said something. If there's a downward trend, you're out. That's why these coaches in the NFL, if they see that the teams aren't performing, they're out. They kick the coach out. Because it's not that they're going to get the players go, no, we need new strategies, we need new mindsets, we need new ideas. And then they're going to be like, okay, you're out. And that's one thing that they should be doing. And paying them that much money, nah, prove yourself. But they negotiate with lawyers, and they come with all these fancy payout packages and do all these crazy things where you guys are looking for jobs, can't find one, been looking for 9 months. And these people on top are just raking it in, not with the shovel, with the truckload, with the boatloads of money, with huge. You know, they save $10, $20 on your thing, and then they splurge and have these extravagant craziness going on somewhere else. And that is just saying that, I think it was United I saw the other day that said, we're going to restrict these United's executives team to fly private. They should fly their own airline. It's like, how does these executives, how crucial is it to these executives to fly private? They should feel how it is when you wait in line. They should fly coach. They should fly business. They should fly their own airline. They should fly competitors' airlines. See how they're doing it. Maybe to learn something. You're not gonna feel out of touch if you're in the airport, in the TSA line, like everybody else, waiting to get on this dirty plane, getting in and just being like, oh, everything's nasty. But when you fly private, they'll cater you food, they'll cater you Chick-fil-A, they'll get you the plane's gonna wait for you and do all that. If you're flying private, they'll do all that for you. But when you're flying commercial and you're late 10 minutes to the gate, they're taking off. So it's just how you stay in touch with your people and with your product. But hey, you're going to make choices a whole lot different when you're flying private, and you're like, you know what? I don't see why United or whatever, or Spirit or Frontier's failing if you see, hey, my whole executive team's flying private. It just doesn't work like that. But we're in the world that we've created, right? We're in this world where everybody is just like, hey, I can do it better than the next guy. And then I got these ideas. And then the thing is, there's one thing I did notice though, is that when you're in a boardroom and you got in, you're finally in the boardroom, and they're voting for Johnny's pay raise, you gotta vote yes. Because guess what if you're gonna vote no in that boardroom, right? If you're gonna say Johnny's not gonna get a raise, and then your turn for a raise comes around, you think Johnny's gonna vote yes on your raise? Probably not, right? So it's a crooked system where they vote on each other's salaries, and then yeah, you deserve to fly private. Everybody in favor say aye. Okay, and then it comes you around. I need a $6 million increase. Everybody in favor say aye. Because once you say no, you're it, right? You're the one that's gonna be either ousted or they're just gonna deny you. So crazy times we're living in. But hey, when the tide runs out, we'll see who's skinny dipping. There's a lot of good stuff coming out. So tomorrow's video is gonna be about Subway again, because they just canceled their $6.99 lunch deal. So we're gonna go investigate. So if you like this content, please like and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one. And yeah, if you want to join this awesome community down below with everybody else to see videos earlier, join the community. It's $2.99. You would help me buy a software that I want to make videos about, but it is hella expensive. It's like $12,000. So once YouTube kind of makes me a little bit more money, we'll buy that. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.